little bit later than we initially thought we were going to be on, because sometimes we try to get on by around 8, 9 a.m. But sometimes we're kind of doing a lunch date thing. So we had a lot of things going on happening because it's Thursday. You know what that means? Trending Thursday. So we want to make sure that you are the trendsetter and not always just worrying about what is going on, but you be the trendsetter. Anyway, this is Carol, so aka Naughty Boss, live with
TwoSistas. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Janis, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. We had obviously Trending Thursday. We had the remnants of Ida. Lots of flooding in Connecticut, in the Northeast in general. New York and New Jersey, Philly hit pretty bad. A lot of lives lost, and our heart and prayers go out to everyone. And a lot of kookiness in the air. Thankfully, we are fine. A lot of branches and all that around the little circle, but big deal. We lost our TV for not even 5 minutes. We're blessed, truly blessed. So
we are blessed, and it's just the weather's doing some kooky things. There's a lot of we've been talking about this nonstop, how it is a kind of just a weird vibe that's been going on the last couple of weeks, no matter where you are. You just got this weird uneasiness going on, heavy hearts. We know what's going on in our country, things that are out of control. But we also try to find the good things. So we try to be transparent. We're health, wellness, and mindset coaches. We try to give you great tools and way to navigate through your health and wellness. So I like to share some of the health and wellness. So I had a doctor's appointment today, and as I've been talking about the last couple of days, I'm really kind of introduced more of a vegan / I wish there was like a vegan veggie combo diet, and or a combo lifestyle that nobody talks about. So there are people that are vegetarians that strive to be vegans. And I think there are even some vegans that say, well, I kind of miss that, filet mignon every now and then, or whatever, right? And other people that don't. They're very structured, they're very postured in their lifestyle, they can stick to it. I freely admit I'm not a big fan of a lifestyle that's so structured that you totally eliminate food. We've always talked about that. And John and I had decided to kind of do a mixture. First, we were all in for the vegan, and then he realized some of the food groups he was going to miss, and he's not quite sure he can embrace it all. So I said, if we really strive to do 80% or even 90% plant-based, we're doing good. So of course I go for my checkup. All my numbers came out great. I personally would like to get down a little weight. She thought I was fine for where I am, but we know our own bodies, and we know like where you got that 5 to 7 to 10 pound, like I want to go up or down or whatever. So I'm kind of out there, which I don't want to go up, I want to go down. And I told you about this particular documentary called What the Health, and it is it's on Netflix. It really gives you a better insight of why vegans choose to be vegans, but it really focuses on what's going on as far as our food sources, and culminating that with the big corporations that are pushing certain lifestyles, but yet they sell this product. So that's a whole other story. You need to watch it. Again, it's called What the Health. It's on Netflix. But anywho, we'd already made the decision once we learned about cheese. And, I would say I'm a pretty, I do love my cheeses. I love my Pecorino Romano. I love blue cheese. I love a good hard cheese. But when I saw this documentary, I wanted to vomit, knowing, how things are sourced. And they talked about this certain phrase. I didn't want to share it yesterday or the day before because it's kind of gross, but they call it cheese pus. And there's a certain amount of cheese pus that's in our cheeses that has to do with the measurement, and they're only allowed so much. But when I heard the term and understood the description of what they were talking about, I got to tell you, I was ready to like, ugh. So anywho, I go to my doctor's appointment today. She's reviewing all my levels. Kidneys are functioning well. bladder, due for a mammogram. That appointment's being made. Need to see the gastro doctor because I've got to get my colonoscopy done. You know, all the fun things in life that happens when you turn a certain age bracket. You know, mammogram, all that stuff. And it's, you know, we're working on that. But anyway, she said you had one number that, you know, was concerning, and it was my cholesterol level. So for my age and weight and all that, this is where they come up with their own calculations. I should be under 100, and I'm currently at 150. So not drastically high, but something that, you know, is to be concerning. And the first thing, you know, they wanted to chat about was medication. I'm not a fan of medication. I freely admit that. When I go to a doctor, I make sure that they know my chart, that I'm not a good patient when it comes to hospitalizations, procedures that have anything to do with needles. Not my thing. I get stressed out. But I'm very forthright with my doctor to let them know that I'm not crazy. It's just not my thing. Even though I need to know that it has to be done, just, you know, I give them a heads up in case I start really getting a little nerved up. So when she first said that, and she went ahead and was starting now talking about different medications, and the quote that you stated yesterday, which is something that we do live by and our parents live by, is let thy medicine be thy food, let food be thy medicine. And I said to her, you know, was trying to explain to her that we are trying a different lifestyle now, more plant-based, and I would really try to see how that works out before I immediately give Big Pharma any of my dollars, even though insurance pays for most of it. Because I do believe that Big Pharma is just, and I think the medical profession as a whole is too easy to write a script instead of trying to think of ways that we can combat whatever's going on within our bodies with, changing up the lifestyle a little bit. So, because now that I heard one of my favorite foods, which is cheese, and we talked about how cheese you can correlate as it's being digested in your gut, what the message that's going up, the receptors that are going up to the brain that craves things, on the same line of someone that sadly suffers from addiction and or heroin addiction, to be specific. Now, not to the extent of that, but it gives a correlation of that's how strong these receptors are. So I decided, if I'm going to eliminate cheese, and I am actually going to go out to the grocery store shortly and look for, because there are vegan, I don't know that there's vegetarian choices in cheese, but I did hear that there were vegan choices of cheese. So maybe there's a little of both. So I'm going to look, and I'm going to have you interject because you know more about that piece to it than I do. And I'm actually making a couple different recipes with shrimp. Now, shrimp obviously is one of those fishes or seafood that is higher in cholesterol. But what I'm going to do is, in that particular recipe, because a lot of my friends are vegetarians, I'm going to make it more vegetarian/vegan friendly. So I'm not going to use a regular dairy cheese. I'm going to try to see. So I wanted to ask Jan, and I'm sure a lot of our audience, because she's a little bit more, her son, my nephew Ryan, who we've chatted about recently, who's doing well and on a better road of recovery, is a vegan. And the trials and tribulations when you're in a hospital and they don't necessarily have a vegan friendly diet. How do you get around it? But that aside, is there, now I know there's vegan cheese, I don't know if there's vegetarian cheese. What input can you add to someone that's new to this vegan/vegetarian? I would say I was more vegetarian than anything, but now I'm really going to try to go close to the vegan, but not 100%, because I just don't know that I can do it.
Well, as a side note to that, a friend of mine is coming out with her cookbook, and it's more than just a cookbook, but she dresses all that stuff like your typical mac and cheese. She makes it where it's dairy free, gluten free, all that kind of stuff. The cheeses, that's kind of a funny thing. You have to be really careful with that, because something that is vegetarian may not be vegan.
Right. But so they do make vegetarian cheese.
I believe that they do, yes. And Ryan also turned me onto something called, because we were talking about cheese several months ago, And he said, oh, he says, I have some of my nutritional yeast with me that's gluten-free, it's vegan. And it's a sprinkle, and they're the smaller flakes. You wouldn't even know that it's not cheese, because it just kind of adds that little flavor that cheese gives something, which is yummy. And
What was that called again? I got to write that one down.
Nutritional yeast.
Yeast?
Yeah, in fact, when we get off, I'll show you the package of it that I have in the fridge.
Okay.
It is amazing. Like, for instance, if you're a salt user, which I use minimal salt as possible, even if you just use that as a substitute, and it adds off, it enhances the flavor of what you're eating. It doesn't mask it, which is, a really nice thing.
Yeah, the cheese that I'm specifically looking for is, because I'm making this recipe, which a lot of people make different recipes, that calls for like shredded cheese.
Right. But they do have vegan cheeses.
Okay.
Sometimes you may have to dig for it. For instance, Stop and Shop in North Haven has an okay section, but if you really looking for more than that, I go to Big Y.
Okay.
Because I know they have a much wider range of products. And again, not everything is, how should I say it? Read the labels. And I think I mentioned that, oh, I saw these beet type of patties that were on sale that were vegan, but what I didn't catch on to, it was not gluten-free, so I can't eat it.
Right. Yeah. And so another question, would these vegan/vegetarian cheeses, would they be in the dairy section where cheese would be?
Typically, no. They're typically that type of section is typically all on its own, and it may be near that section, but it's typically on its own in a smaller type of section. You sometimes near the freezer cooler or the refrigerated cooler, where they may have vegetarian or gluten-free type of meals. So it's usually in that specialized section.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, this is like, a whole new way of shopping. And
Yes.
I was in between appointments this morning. I happened to go to a Walmart, but it was just a grocery Walmart, and looking for different things. And I did find some great breads that were gluten-free, but also I think they had the V on them, because it's obviously the V, and it said plant-based, had the plant-based, little symbol on it. And there's so many different symbols. I think that's what's trending, symbols. Like, you almost need a whole book on what's the symbol of this, what's the symbol of that, because I try to look for those things first to make it easier. And then my head starts spinning. So it really is kind of getting re-educated and really getting re-familiar with the grocery store, which does take time. You're shopping in sections that you don't normally. And let's be, clear. A lot of grocery stores or super stores or whatnot are not super user friendly when it comes to finding specific things. Now, to give an example, I was looking for soy sauce, because I know that there's different soy sauce with a lower sodium. Do you think I could find them anywhere? I went to the condiment, I went to the international aisle, I went to everywhere, and finally found them in another weird section, which I would have never thought of. And I can't remember what the section was. It was just something that I stumbled on. So it really is getting reacquainted with shopping, going with, a list in hand to really check off and get familiar with. When you're changing a lifestyle, it takes a little work, could be a little over stressful, in some regards, because you're not really sure you're doing something that you don't normally, and coming out of your comfort zone. Don't you think, when you're all of a sudden you're introducing a whole new, not a whole new, because obviously we ate a lot of vegetables, but things that we wouldn't normally buy that are already made, meaning crackers or bread or a condiment. We're not big condiment users, but just different things, because you want to make sure there's no dairy in a lot of this stuff. So of course he was like, well, what are we gonna do with all this dairy stuff? I said, well, we're gonna have people that are gonna come over that
Right.
are following the way. So you want to make sure you still have that stuff on hand. I'm not gonna throw it out. But it really, I've got my work cut out for me today. That's for sure. So that's my world. What's trending in your world?
Well, what's trending? That's kind of a loaded question. Well, no, I would say what's trending, obviously in the area, is the cleanup, and it's actually a beautiful day. Lots of branches down, big deal. We pick them up. Not a big deal. And the other thing, obviously, is trying to get prepared for when I go to Philly. I leave about a week and a half, so trying to figure out the logistics for that. And the update on my reading, I did not accomplish my goal. However, I want to say that I'm proud of what I did. So even though I did not finish reading 10 books, 9.5 books, I had 60 pages left to go. I'm okay with that. And I actually made a post on the Facebook about, okay, I'm doing my reading list for year end, what I want to complete by December 31st. So I was asking for book suggestions, and just kind of
Did you get some good ones? I'm sure you did.
I haven't looked at it yet again, but that should be interesting. And I know that in the book that I'm finishing, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, she has book recommendations in the back there as well. And one of them, two of them, or three of them, I think I have. One or three of them I already have. So I'm going to put those on my list. So hopefully by next week, I will publish my list and let everyone know where I'm at in my reading journey. Obviously, I love reading. I love it. I love that time in the morning when I'm sitting there, and I know you don't drink coffee, but after I've done my first workout and I'm sitting there enjoying my coffee, journaling and reading, I love that. That's like me time, and just so special.
The book that I'm reading is about this thick, and it is not going to be I wouldn't say it's not going to be enjoyable reading. It's more of not making myself knowledgeable on the rules, policies, code of ethics of school committee members in Massachusetts. So it is not, I'm not going to put this on my top 5 list or my top 20 or probably my top 100. It's necessary reading. It's a big book. But I think part of reading is also for knowledge, enjoyment, absolutely first and foremost. But I'm kind of taking this, and I'm going to embrace this like I'm taking a course. And a lot of times when you take a course, it's dry reading. But what I'm hopeful about is that I'm going to come out of it being more knowledgeable about what goes into being a school committee member, as well as understanding the logistics, meaning the rules, the code of ethics, the policies, because they do have to. You're sworn in. You are a state elected official, and you actually should do your own due diligence when you take on this role, because it's not easy. I want to not say that I'm doing this to run for any school committee. You couldn't pay me enough money. I believe they might even get a stipend. You couldn't pay me to do what they do. However, I do see the importance of understanding from a layman's perspective, a parent, a grandparent, stakeholder, citizen, taxpayer. We should know, because this is how we have checks and balances and accountability. You can't keep people accountable if you don't have the knowledge and or the correct information. So I am trying to help out, the school committee members that go to these particular events, meetings, the lay people, the parents, the stakeholders, whatnot, to share with them the knowledge that I'm embarking on, because I do think it's important. We're at a really sensitive time where you have a select full, 7 people that are making some pretty incredible decisions regarding the health and wellness of children. And I think there's a line to that is being crossed, where now all of a sudden politics are being entered into it, as well as trying to play the doctor or the nurse or an official, a health official, which none of them are. There is not, in this particular town district, there's not one member. And that's not to say that there aren't doctors and or medical professionals that are on a local school committee. This particular school committee does not. And I think where they're trying to make some medical and health decisions for the sake of the district, even if they're following some ridiculous mandate, they should have the knowledge as well, because they're not health officials. So I think there's a lot of crossing the line of really trampling on parents' rights or caregiver or guardian rights when it comes to the children's well-being, as well as across of politics. When you have a district that wants to use CNN as their daily news sources for current events, that's a problem. We shouldn't, and that's not to say you should be using Fox News or American One or any of that. You should not be using any of these sources, people. We have history books, and you can get information on current events that are not swaying one way or the other. So there's a lot of lines being crossed. I think that's also what's trending as well. So I'm going to be doing my due diligence later today and reading that fabulous book that I'm looking forward to. But I hope that I learned something from it. So I don't think that it's a waste of time.
So due diligence is part of what is trending. So due diligence in your world, what's trending for you? On that note, my name is Janis, aka Wellness Diva, and we will be on again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Fantabulous Friday. Wellness Diva 5.0 with
TwoSistas, and this sister is making a disclaimer from yesterday's morning announcement, where that sister,
yes,
our oldest sister, had turned the big 7-0. I knew something didn't sound right, and I agree with her, because I thought, I'm so busy, I'm not keeping track of years. It is actually incorrect. But what I did tell her was she did turn 69, so happy, one day late, 69th birthday to our oldest sibling. But I did remind her, while the youngest or one of the youngest siblings got your actual number wrong, I did kindly remind her with a little jab that she is on her 70th year. So it wasn't totally a faux pas, but whatever. Just had to put that out there. And I always say that, because when everyone's celebrating a birthday, they're forgetting that that number is really technically over. The moment you hit that age, that second later, you're already on the other year. So I did kind of, smooth that over, but I thought it was kind of funny.
that is funny.
It isn't like a funny. But with that, this is Carol, so AKA Naughty Boss. We will see you tomorrow. TwoSistas, yes, indeed, for a fantabulous Friday. We hope that you are safe, that we hope that you are the trend center, whether that's to do with your health, your wellness, your mindset. Always, always, regardless, be a trend center of goodness and kindness. Pay it forward. We wish you a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.